welcome back to the Nerf versus series for my channel. My name is Luke Triton, and whilst it has been a while, this one should be a fun episode. I'm going to be comparing the Trilogy to the Shellstrike. The idea of the versus series is to compare two similar blasters and declare which one is better and worth the purchase. So the main comparison for these two blasters is that they are both shotguns and they both use the now standard shell system. I'm probably going to be a bit out of date when I say that, but even then, the fact that two Nerf blasters use this shell system, and there is an attachment that holds some of these shells as well, it should lead the way to more designs in the future, and I really do hope to see more blasters that use these shells, because these two are lots of fun. This is probably going to be a bit of a tricky episode as well, but let's see how we go along. So I'm going to start off with the first of the two to be released and also use these shells, which is the Trilogy. This is a more conventional shotgun blaster. The stock is small, but that's probably the only complaint I could really make with this. Just like other blasters, there's potential room for other tactical rails, like this sort of space here. I suppose there's room for one on the side. And given that this attachment also exists, if I not drop it, there you go. So this is sold separately, I will have to make that known, and also not available in the UK, which is another point I made known in the Shellstrike video. So this holds 3 shells, comes with the 3 appropriate shells and the darts to be able to fill this in the first place. I definitely believe that on this blaster in particular, the Trilogy, because nothing's really going on this side, maybe there was room for this to stick up just a little bit more, so you could put just a few extra shells. That's not going to be the biggest problem in the world. And that front tactical rail up there at the top, yes, you could use that for an optic, but you're more likely to use that rail space for this attachment. And it just becomes a bit weird when you go to aim down sights, but at the same time, it's a shotgun. Why are you aiming down sights? There is a funky thing I will show off in just a moment in regards to that attachment, which is something I did show off with the Shellstrike video as well. But overall, this is a more traditional size blaster. This is something that I've seen on eBay quite often. It's not too often, but every now and then when you see a Trilogy, you go, oh, look, a Trilogy, that's pretty cool. It's not something I've seen in stores anymore either, and I am talking about here in the UK as well. To anybody who's tuning in for the first time, I am British, and Nerf products kind of have a bit of a weird behaviour here in the UK. They don't really stick around in stores too long. And eBay is a bit of a finicky market, but it's the only place we could really get something if we missed out first time round. We don't have Goodwills or anything like that, so it's, again, a bit more finicky. But this is definitely one of the most fun blasters I've had. I prefer the magazine-fed and kind of flywheel blasters, because it's more rifle-orientated, again, a bit more conventional. But goddamn, this reminded me of the times where I had Busby blasters that took shells. So, to load this blaster, this grip here, you move that all the way back, the top door opens up, grab shell, insert shell, you go forward, and despite what I said in the Shellstrike video, I don't like the fact I'm going to have to go fetch the darts later on, but we're doing this for the video, goddammit. I probably should have made a sound warning just in case, because this is going to get a bit loud with all the clicking and the priming. And then, because I need to make sure you can still see, 3 darts. And of course, shell ejection. That's even cooler. So you just saw, I don't know if you saw that because of the camera angle again. So one thing I suppose is the main issue, besides the stock, because you know it's also made for children. I can't really complain about that. Every now and then when I go to prime this blaster, I struggle to get it all the way to the rear. Then I can send that forward, then I can pull the trigger. So it's about there, I suppose. That's causing the issue where I don't feel like I've brought it all the way to the back. But it kind of has a bit of an unusual feel to it. Have to use a bit of force to make sure you get a proper pump, but again, it's not the end of the world, so I'm not too fussed about that. It just takes a bit of getting used to, so that is ultimately human error. But when you just look at this, it's such a cool item. I saw a few of these go for about £15, brand new, that is, on eBay. And if you can still get one for that price, I for one would fully recommend it, because it is such a gorgeous and fun blaster. This is a fun Nerf blaster, and I absolutely appreciate that. So that's a general overview of the Trilogy. I need to make sure that doesn't fall over when I set that down. Blaster number 2, the Shellstrike, my latest Nerf purchase. And this is another fun blaster. I was able to get this for a bargain. I went to a store here in the UK called TK Maxx every now and then with the one that's in my area. I go to that store, go to the toy area and think, I wonder if there's any Nerf I could potentially thrift, because that's the only thrifting potential I can really do here in the UK. I saw this brand new £5, I had to get it because, again, it's a super cool, fun blaster. So, in the review, I mentioned that it comes with only 2 shells. I do have a third one in here for the sake of the demonstration. And it's just so much fun because it uses these shells, because it's so much different to other blasters that you use. So in order to load it, there is this switch on this side. The chamber opens up. I already have a shell in there. To remove the shell, you're going to have to poke it out because there are a few sort of notches. That's what the word I'm looking for. So there's a few notches on the inside that keep the darts, keep the shells. I'm too distracted by the blaster, I can't talk properly. But you get the idea. Shell goes in, you close that, prime here, make more mess, fun times ahead. Now, this does not have shell ejection. As you saw when I reloaded this just a moment ago, that shell's not coming out, which is a bit of a shame. It's because of those notches that keep it in place. I think that's ultimately a good thing, because if you go to reload this and the shell falls out, it makes noise, you give away your position. If that even breaks, which I've never experienced, I'd have no reason to believe that would happen with these anyway, that's still going to be a bad time because these shells are actually quite rare. It's only sold with these 2 blasters and the attachment that comes with more. So, you know, that is its own thing. You grab another shell, pop that in, making sure you get the right way around, of course. You get the ruddy thing to fit in there in the beginning. So just like the loading system with the Trilogy, there was a loading system error that I discovered with the Shellstrike. Again, this is more human error, it's not to the fault of the blaster, and this is another thing I mentioned in the review of this blaster to begin with. So when you go to close it, actually before I do, you can probably see here, so there we go, this little triangle piece, that connects to this hole here. So when you go to close it, that's locked in position, ready to go. I have failed to close that a few times. That would sit, there we go, like that. So if I put, there we go, use my skin as a background. So there is a bit of an error there where it's not actually locked into position. That is the correct position. So because of that error, there have been a few times where I've go to fire this and it doesn't fire at all. I think, oh no, what have I done? It's just a simple small error, but at the same time, the fact that I've done this a few times is, maybe other people could do it, maybe I'm just not using enough energy for it. This isn't a blaster I'm really used to. Again, I'm someone who prefers magazine-fed, kind of rifle-sized blasters. But at the end of the day, it's not going to be a big problem. You just slam that down, you prime it, and then you're ready to rock and roll. So, let's now talk about the attachments that holds some shells, because this is an attachment that isn't available in the UK, and yet I wanted one. So I had to go to an American eBay store to get myself 2 of these. So it comes with the actual shell holder itself, 3 shells, and all the darts you would need to fill these 3 shells. So you saw me put one on the Trilogy earlier. This only has 1 tactical rail, again, just like the Trilogy, so there's only one place you can really put this. So on that bottom rail, you now have 3 more rounds ready to rock and roll. But now, let's have a look at something fun and stupid and wonderful, because seriously, it is amazing. Thanks to the 2018, I think it was released in 2018, the Modulus Demolisher Ultimate Customizer Super Kit, whatever it was called. This rail adapter piece, if I quickly show it off on its own, this rail adapter piece was introduced. Hey dog, I heard you like rails, so I added rails to your rails. So if I grab the Shellstrike once again, again, this is another thing I showed off in the Shellstrike review video, but I have to show it off here again because it's so amazingly cool. More shells for your shell blaster. Oh dear. That's okay. But God, look at how amazing is that. I could get one more and fill that space, but you know, again, because of availability, I'm not really going to do that. But goddamn, how awesome is that? When these first arrived, I had a bit of fun and put this on the Trilogy as well. Now, I bought these attachments before I bought the Trilogy. So I do actually know what this looks like. But even then, it looks really cool. That is a bit of a loose shell, which is a bit annoying. However, that's okay. So, too many attachments, too many blasters, too much fun. Here we go. Look at how stupid is that. That was a sentence I just said. Oh, I'm having too much fun to be able to speak properly. And that even happened in the Shellstrike video. God, too much is happening that's bleeding over. So, what I'm trying to say is, I bought these, and these arrived before I got the Shellstrike. So I wanted to do a video on this attachment, but sadly there were too many takes that didn't work, so that video already got scrapped. And I did this in that video, so I have already seen this. And one thing I described it as, so if I put it back to here, it looks like, with the overall silhouette, not so much as looking down a big old barrel like this, it looks like someone wearing those drinking hats. They can have a straw go into their mouth here. I can't help but think of that. Is it just me? Can you see the resemblance in that? Anyway, but that, as stupid as that would look, is a potential viable combo for, well, I suppose the only viable combo if you're going to take the Trilogy into a Nerf war, because goddamn, look at all the ammo. That's 6, potentially 9 if you get one more. Plus 5, or maybe even a 6th one if you get one in the chamber already. Too much ammo. Too much fun as well. Right. So that has all happened. That has all been said. That's all come and gone. It's time to decide, of these two blasters, which one should you get? The idea of the Versus series is that you put two similar blasters against each other and you make a final decision. So of these two, personally, the Trilogy. But that is a very sort of cheap answer. If you can get both, get both. They are so unbelievably cool. They're not expensive, and this is going to keep you busy for a good long time. Now, I was originally going to say it's a tie, but I didn't really want to do that. Again, if you are only going to get just one, get the Trilogy, because it's bigger, it comes with more shells. The shell ejection is another good feature as well. And it's just an overall really funky and cool blaster. The Shellstrike still has a lot going on for it. It doesn't really make it any better or worse than the Trilogy, but you get the idea that this one is the primary and this one is the secondary. So, yeah, ultimately that's pretty much it. I mean, shells are kind of hit and miss when it comes to the hobby. A lot of people do hope that more blasters in the future use these shells, and I am one of those people. Also, a lot of people talk about the old shells that Busby blasters had, and that is another thing that I had as well. There was a bolt action blaster that had a magazine, and I had two of those double barrel shotguns where you get to put the shells in, they would kind of click in position, and when you open it up, the shells would eject. It's so much fun. Shell ejection for Nerf blasters is, I'm just looking at the mess. Shell ejection for Nerf blasters is really, really cool. It's a bit more of a closer take to real life firearms, and I suppose maybe the airsoft kind of hobby. Maybe there are some airsoft blasters or weapons. I don't airsoft, so I don't know what the real word would be for that. But you get the idea. That sort of feeling of shell ejection, it's that extra bit of fun, that extra bit of coolness. It's so rare for Nerf blasters, especially nowadays, now that these two blasters have come and gone. But even then, it's really, really cool, really, really fun. If you can afford to get both, then get both, because I love these two. I'm gonna keep these on screen as I say goodbye, because they are, again, really, really cool blasters. So just to quickly finalise on my decision of the two, go for the Trilogy. But if you can get both, because, you know, why not, get both. They are absolutely amazing. So that is it for this video. Thank you all ever so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you all in the next episode. Bye bye.